Welcome to the session 2 of the introduction to the neural network. And in this particular session, we are going to talk about the multi-layer perceptron. So we have in the previous session we have seen that what is the perceptron and what is the philosophy, how to find out the right parameter. All these things we have done. In this session, we are going to talk about that how can we combine these perceptron and what is the meaning of combining that. What kind of different problem that we were actually not able to solve there, and we can solve now. So let us start our discussion. So neural network is something, this kind of a structure where there are some layers, and you will be asking that why is the layer? But let us first understand that what do I mean by the layer. So this is the input layer. This is the first thing where whatever input is going to be given to you, it is nothing. There is no processing or happening over there, but it's a kind of something is being provided to you, is available at this particular place. So you can say that this is x1, this is x2, this is x3. These are the things that are available to me. And then comes the next layer. And the layers mean nothing more than this, that I'm going to put few perceptrons over here. And I'm going to put few perceptrons over here. And previously, let's assume that there were two perceptrons. So what is going to happen that every perceptron into the next layer is going to be connected with all the perceptron into the previous layer. So this is what the general architecture is. So if I increase one more, so how many connections I need to add? Let's assume that here and one number of things are there. And if I increase one more over here, so how many more weights I need to add? Can anybody tell? So yes, 4, because everything everywhere I have to connect. So n1 number of weights I have to increase. So next layer, this is going to happen that you are here. I'm going to have. So what do I mean by this? Why I'm going to put these things into the layers, and at the end I'm going to get the output layer. Why I'm going to have it? Because this is what the raw representation. You would think in this particular terms that that this is what the raw representation of the data, because the data in the data you find out these values. Okay, then you connect it over here and you find out some kind of linear decision boundary. You are actually finding out some kind of features on that. And the next layer, features are features. You are combining in those features in such a way so that more meaningful abstract thing can be taken out. So multiple layers are going to represent it into this way. The first thing that I told you, that why multiple layers, so that I can make hierarchy of features, and so that better features, because from the raw data, how can you find out any kind of understanding? You combine the various things that you are actually getting, and by this you get the better and better representations. Next thing you may ask that, sir, if there is a node, if there is a perceptron over here, why it is only connected with these things, and its output is connected here into both the things? Why it is only connected to this? It would be nice that how many of you think that it would be nice that if I connect them here also? Can anybody think that it is going to be better architecture? Yes, definitely more, because you think in this way that you are actually going to have going to give the more power over here. Make sense? If you are here, there is some other layer, you connect this thing to here, connect this thing to here. These things are also possible. Make sense? These things are also possible, but we avoid these things. Why we avoid these things? Because ultimately you have to find out the parameters, and finding out these parameters would become very difficult for you. Why? Because you only know that what should be the output and what should be the input. In between things you don't know. Since you don't know about in between thing, then finding out that what should be the right change into these parameters is going to be very difficult. Make sense? So somebody is telling that output is propagated from the layer 1 to 2. I don't know that what is propagation, etc., because we have not discussed on that. So here my point is only this, that I have to find out the weights, and finding out the weights with these kind of complex thing becomes very difficult. However, this also is not very simple. It has sufficiently complex, but still I am restricting something, that you cannot connect this thing with the previous one. Okay, this simplifies the things, and therefore the overall models becomes trainable. Okay, one thing for sure, That's why we are going to do like that. So you can combine in multiple way, and maybe if you try to see that there are other network architectures such as ResNet and other, that those are the new architecture where they actually allow that you can connect these things over here. Okay, but finding out in the right parameter when these kind of connections are there needs very high expertise. So most of the time it is not available. So we generally into the neural network setting we actually avoid this, and for this particular discussion today's topic we are going to avoid this. Maybe tomorrow when Dr. Aditya would come, you can ask those things, that what is the advantage and those things for that. Make sense? Any questions you have? Yeah. Jasila has actually explained me that it means that we are going to transfer. Though I just wanted to tell that the terminology of this transferring and propagation, etc., we have not discussed. So let's avoid this, so that the people who are new, they should also be able to understand that, and that is not needed at this particular point. Everybody understand this? Till now, I want to tell you only one thing. What? That we are going to put the things into this kind of a special restricted architecture. Everybody okay? Can everybody write yes? We are going to put the things into this restricted architecture. Everybody can write yes? Yeah, makes sense? Everybody? Very yes, less number of yes I get. Yeah. This is what the restricted architecture we have. And this architecture is called neural networks. Make sense? This architecture is called neural network. Number of layers may differ depending upon the problem. For some problem you take 2 layers, some problems you take 10 layers. That depends upon the what kind of problems you have. I have already told you into the previous class that any Boolean function can be represented by only 2 layers, not more than that, 2 hidden layers. So again, interesting idea that I forget to mention. The things, this is the output layer, this is the input layer, and things which are inside, they are called the hidden layer. They are called the hidden layer. So how many hidden layers could be? So many. That depends upon the number of, that depends upon the problem. And in one layer, how many neurons? Here you can see that 4. It may be possible here 3 you can put, here you can put 20. That also depends upon the kind of problem that you have and what kind of insights you have with the problem. Number of nodes can also differ. Okay. So, and we have seen this, that a 2-layer deep is enough to give any kind of Boolean function. Any questions on this particular slide? Make sense? Should I go ahead? Yeah. Make sense? Yes. Okay. So again, our favorite example, we have a data, 2-dimensional data, x1 and x2, x1 and x2, two features we have, and this particular data is given to me. So first question is this: can I draw a line in such a way so that the one side there is positive and another side there is a negative? Can I divide like this? Can I draw a line like this? No. Only one person knows this. Two people knows this. Okay, because just try that. If I draw a line, for example, if I draw a line like this, one side everything is fine, everything up is actually positive, but below everything should be negative. Why? How come these come, these positive point come? So this is not a right line. Okay, can I try anything else? Can I draw line like this? What kind of line I can draw? I can draw no line. Make sense? It is not possible. Achha, somebody is saying not a straight line. Okay, so please understand that line means a straight line. Okay, line always means a straight line. Make sense? So this is a difficult problem to solve. So what we can do? This thing, can we draw multiple lines? For example, I draw a, for example, if I draw a red line and I say that one side I am correct, other side I have a problem. I draw this line. I say that one side I am correct, other side I have a problem. I draw this line. I say that one side I am correct, other side I have a problem. Make sense? So what do I mean by this? I mean by please be careful what I'm telling. I am right now drawing 3 lines, and I'm telling that red line, red line, blue line, black line, and I wanted to find out what is the color of my things. 0 means below the red line. So what is the area below red line? This is the area. This is the area. Make sense? Blue line below 0. This is the below blue line. I see that the places where there is below. So let me change the color. So places below the blue line is this. If I say that below red line and below red line and below blue line, so what would be that area? I think you may understand that that area would be only this, below red line and below blue line. Only this is the area that I have. Make sense? Make sense? Can you write yes? Yeah. Okay. Next thing, black line below the black line. Where is the black line? Black line is this. So below the black line is this. So if both the things I say, then it means that I am actually referring this area. Make sense? If I am into this particular area. Okay. In this particular area, what is the color? Color is 1. Items are, whenever this condition is there, then the item is 1. It is green. Makes sense? This table actually specifies this. Okay, makes sense. So if you understand this, let me again go and try to find out the second line. Try to investigate to the second line. Second line says that red line below red line, blue line below blue line, but the black line above. So I think this is the area. This is the area. And here, what is the color? Color is 0. Make sense? 0 means next category, red. Okay. So this makes sense. So similarly, I can find out other things. For example, when below the red line, above the blue line. Okay. Below the red line, above the blue line. So I think this is the area. This is the area. Okay. And this is the, for black line, it is below. So I think this would only be, this area would be here. I think this area would be here. Am I right? This is the area. I'm talking about this area. What is the color you can write over here? Similarly, there could be some wrong combinations also, which are actually not possible. But by this, you can find out that what is the right color. Right now, very important thing that I wanted to tell you is this, that multiple straight lines can be drawn. And by utilizing them, you can devise a strategy. This strategy can give you that what is the right color for that particular item. Make sense? Is this fine? Is this fine? Yes. Now tell me that this is the line and this is the AND gate. This is AND gate. This is the AND gate. Make sense? AND gate logic. So what you can do? You can design like this, that two parameter x1 and x2 are actually fed. And then on that, you are going to have 3 perceptron, because every perceptron is going to find out whether the item is below the red line, below the green line, below the blue line, and below the black line. So 3 perceptron. Why I put the 3 perceptron? Because I need 3 regions. Make sense? And then there is a logic that combines that if this and this and this, then what should be the output? Okay. And since there is only one place, so it is only AND gate if everything is, because I can find out the negation of this particular item, and then I can find out the negation of red line, negation of blue line, and I think black line is fine. Then only this place it would be 1 1 1, and then here it would become, I can reverse the whatever output there it is. So I can find out the equivalent representation where this line is 1 and all other lines are actually 0. Make sense? And use those kind of thing to find out the right thing. Let me tell you that you know that maybe very interesting is example. Let's assume that in your class there is a student A and B. Student A gives a correct answer to all the questions, and student B gives wrong answer to all the questions. Okay, wrong answer to all the questions. So in the class, when the A is not coming, if A is absent, then you can utilize B to find out the right answer of all the questions. You just ask the question from him. Whatever he is telling you, reply the reverse of that. Make sense? So So this kind of small changes over here would make you possible that you initially you put three neurons over here, three perceptrons over here, then one perceptron over here, and then at the end you take the output of this thing as an output. Make sense? Yes. Okay. So and means intersection. Everybody knows this. Yeah. Okay. So anything else you want to ask over here? Any problems over here? That if the data is in this, let me summarize what I told you. That if the data is of this kind, if the data is of this kind, if data is of this kind, then this kind of network architecture would be fine for you. It would be able to find out the right parameters so that 100% correct output could be provided for the items which are there. Make sense? Can anybody write yes? Does it give the right idea? Yeah. Okay, I got very less yes. I need some more to continue. No. 85 peoples. What is the plus one in the layer? Yeah. Please repeat. Okay. It's going complicated, sir. So less yes. Okay. No, it's
Sir,
not getting complicated. No, don't think like that. It is anyway complicated. Let me tell you thing. Very simple. The question was this: that this data was not linearly separable. Everybody can write yes. Yeah. Now can I get so many yes? Yeah. This data is not linearly separable. But if I draw a line, if I draw a straight line, because I have perceptron are only straight line. If I draw these three straight lines, I can devise a strategy by just looking on this particular table. I can tell that whether item is positive or negative. Can you write now yes? So two things. Because this understanding I have, that's why I have said that three neuron would be here, three perceptron would be here. And then since there is one table, I say that there would be an AND gate over here. If there would be multiple things, I can find out that how many things are needed over there. So we can devise this kind of network architecture. I think this should be clear. This should not be tough. That then using this kind of logic, if I understand the data, look, these are the hyperparameters. Means how many input layer are there in each layer, how many perceptrons are there. These things are hyperparameter, and you have to come up with this. System would not come up with these values. So if you have the understanding of your data, then you can devise this kind of network architecture. And if you can devise this kind of network architecture, finding out right parameter, we have seen that for individual item we have find out. So we can build a system for that, and this system would be correctly classifying. The point is, once again, what is the point? Point was that the data which was right now we have seen was not linearly separable, but even then using this neural network, we can find out a architecture that can perfectly classify those things. Okay. How AND gate is the confusion. Okay. AND gate this. So okay. Question is this, that I told you that there is a three students in the class A, B, and C. Okay, and C is an average boy. Average boy. He don't know any answer. He want to answer the questions asked by the teacher, and he knows that for every question that the teacher asks, A gives the right answer, and B gives the wrong answer for all the questions that he asks. And C want to give the answer of the questions asked by the faculty. Okay, and in one day when A was not present, how to do that? The answer is that C would ask from the B that this question was asked by the sir. What is the answer? He tell yes. The C would answer as no. Makes sense? I can reverse the answer. So whatever is there, I can reverse it 0, 1, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0 without any problem, because it is just like a changing the parameter, multiplying with all the things with the minus 1, and then plus becomes minus, minus becomes plus. Makes sense technically? And then then it is just a AND gate. Make sense? Was telling AND gate was how the gate is the confusion. Sangeeta, is it a bit clear? Okay. So this is how we define a architecture. It is just a I'm not giving that this particular thing as a general way to do this. I just wanted to verify this idea that using I just wanted to give you the verification of the idea that using these kind of architectures you can even design the model that can classify the items which are not linearly separable. That's it. This part is clear, that items which are not linearly separable, we can make the system for them using this neural network. That is the advantage of this neural network. This part is clear? Everybody is with me? All right. So once again, I have given you a method that can work on the non-separable data. And why it is important to work on the non-separable data? Because real life data that you get in your experiment, they are not linearly separable. So you can deploy the things. If it is there, then only you can apply these kind of models onto the real life data. Make sense? Excellent. So neural networks has a lot of applications, and you know that one very important thing is that long training time is acceptable. You should apply the neural network when long training time is possible, because they take lot of time, because I told you the infinite number of time you have to repeat the thing to find out the real parameters. But when you find out the parameter, finding out whether the point is there or not, it is very fast. Fast evaluation is there. Means when the parameter is given to you, you can easily find out that what should be there. For example, into the autonomous car, okay, autonomous car. If the car takes 100 hours to learn, that is fine. But when a squirrel comes in front of the car, it should immediately stop within fraction of time, okay, within fraction of seconds it should stop. So when you find out the right parameter, then it should behave very quickly. But however it takes a lot of time that is acceptable to you, then you go for the neural network. One thing. And there are various other advantages that is had, that if the training example have errors, some kind of noise, then also it works good. Okay. And also very important point is this, that when these weights are given to you, let's assume that when I give you the weights, sometime interpretation may be very hard, that what is the understanding, means I give these values, what is the understanding? Sometimes finding out the understanding is difficult. So if the understanding is not that much important, then you go for the neural network based systems. Make sense? All right. So now a small mathematical slide that is not very difficult to understand, and you also need not to try to go very deep into this particular slide. There is a very simple slide that actually talks about that target minus output. This part you have seen earlier. Okay, what is the target minus output? You understood that target, what is the value that I wanted, and what is my network is going to give you. So earlier we were thinking that my network is also going to output me as a +1 and -1. Okay, what was the network architecture? That you are using x1, x2, these things, and there were weight W1, W2. You find out what is the summation of Wi, Xi, and you summation, and then you apply a thresholding on this. If the item summation is actually less than 0, then you say -1, otherwise you say +1. This is clear to you. I am telling that one problem that into the previous session we have actually highlighted is this, that when you use those kind of training, number of error is actually sometime reducing, sometime increasing, and this kind of behavior you are going to get. So you don't know where to stop. Okay, because till now this was the minimum, but after some time this would be the minimum, after some time this may be the new minimum. You don't know that when to stop. Okay, so it is very difficult to find out this place. So next strategy that we are going to have is this, that you don't apply thresholding. I am telling that don't apply the thresholding. Okay, if you don't apply the thresholding, then what is the output What is the output? Whatever output is going to be given to you is actually the summation of these numbers. The summation is actually going to be the output. And we are expecting that the output that is using from this mathematical equation should be +1 for the positive item and -1 for the negative item. Can we expect this type of thing? Yes, there is no problem with that. We can also expect the same thing, that this kind of output should be given to me. If this kind of output is given to me, then what is the difference between what is the difference into the expected output that I'm going to have? Once again, let me tell you that this was the perceptron that was given to me, and the summation, whatever the value is going to come over here, is actually I'm going to give you that output. My output is going to be the multiplication of the weight with the x that is going to be given to me. So I am not applying thresholding. This part is clear. Whether can anybody tell that what I'm going to tell right now? That I am going to modify my perceptron. Number one thing, I'm going to modify my perceptron. Everybody, please understand. I am going to modify my perceptron right now. I'm going to modify my perceptron by telling that I would not apply the thresholding over that. So what would be the output? What would be the output? Earlier the output was that you find out what is the WIXI. Nobody is writing yes. So I wanted to find out that what is the WIXI. Then after that I had applied the threshold on that. This time I'm not applying threshold. I'm just telling that my output is the multiplication of WIXI. Everybody, please. If you don't understand, I can repeat it once again. Yeah, should I repeat it? Say yes or no. Not clear. Please repeat. Okay. So I need yes from your side. Please understand. I have a perceptron. Everybody understand what is the perceptron? That there is x, there are x1, x2, x3 dot dot, and there are weights W1, W2, W3. So I find out the multiplication of these weights and summation. Is it clear? And then I apply a threshold. Is it clear? So everybody please write yes. This part is clear. This is what we have done into the previous lesson. Yeah. Okay. If you understand this, then I am going to tell you this thing. I am going to tell you this thing, that I am going to modify this perceptron. I am going to modify this perceptron. This is also clear. What is the modification? That I am not going to apply this threshold. So W1x1 plus W2x2 plus W3x3 plus dot dot dot. This would be the output. Is it clear? Yes, this part is clear. There is a question that misclassification comes if we don't apply threshold. Okay, so again here the misclassification would come that for the positive item this equation should give me the +1. For the negative item this equation should give me the -1. Give me the right parameter in such a way. Very difficult to find out, but I am telling that give me the parameter in this way. This is what the modification I have done. Make sense? So what would be the error? Let's assume the item was positive and you are going to give me some output. So one more thing that I wanted to tell you here, that these xi's I can write as a vector, that x vector, and these w's I can also write as a vector w. Okay, so when I write w cross x, w dot x, it's a dot product, and you know that dot product is a term by term multiplication of the items. So that's why here it is written like this. So try to understand this particular thing, that what is this? This is nothing more than this, that term by term multiplication of the item. This is clear? Can anybody tell that this is clear? Here I have removed the thresholding. Make sense? So this is the output given by my system. What is the output I expect? I expect, let's assume that this is what the target output is. It is a positive and negative. Make sense? So what is the difference? What is the difference? How far I am from the expected one? If I want to find out how far I am from the expected output, I can take the difference of these two things. And difference could be positive and negative also. So since I want to find out the difference, so either I can simply apply a square on that. I can apply a square on that. And this is the sum of a square. It means on this particular table, where there was red and green, etc. Red means -1, green is +1. So I see that, for example, for this particular thing, my output was 15. For this, my output was -5. This output. I see what is the difference between those two values and find out the square of that. And now this term I'm going to call as an error, that this is what the error is that I have, and now I want to find out this error to be smaller. When this error would be smaller? In what case this error would be smaller? This error would be smaller if the value that I get my system is producing is the same as the value that is expected to be output. This part is clear? I have done this small modification only. Forget about everything else. Just understand that I have done a modification, and using this kind of modification, I can define a new kind of errors, and actually I want to minimize this error. My task would be to minimize this kind of error. My task would be to minimize this kind of error. Make sense? I want to minimize this value. Yeah, clear? Okay, great. So nothing more than this. So this is the last mathematics that we are going to encounter in today's session. This is the last mathematics that I wanted to tell you. So everybody understand this part, that I am going to talk about a different kind of perceptron, that is unthresholded. So if I take the unthresholded one, then I would be going to get this value to tell that how bad I am, how bad my parameters are. So if there is a misclassified example, I have to change the W's in such a way so that this value actually reduces. Make sense? For all the item, because now for every item I would be getting this value. Okay, it is not a right classification. My value should be very near to that. Make sense? So for all the values into my database, I have to find out that what is the target minus output, and this value that is going to be given to me error, that should be minimized. Make sense? Okay. So into the 12th class mathematics, people talk about that if you have a function and if you want to minimize it, so there is a method called derivative. If you can find out the derivative of this particular quantity, if you want to minimize this quantity, so you have to find out what is the derivative of this quantity, and you actually go into the reverse direction of the derivatives, so that then this value would be minimized. If you want to minimize this thing, what would happen? That you want to find out the derivative of this quantity. So how many of you are actually comfortable with this idea? So if you don't comfortable, if you're not a mathematics teacher, that's not a problem. Just try to understand that we have to find out somehow derivative of this quantity. And if you know the derivative, for example, of derivative of this quantity with respect to all the W0 with the W1 with the W2, derivative of this quantity of this particular error with respect to the every weight that we have. Okay, with respect to the every weight, what is the weight? W0, W1, W2. With every weight, you find out what is the derivative of this thing. Okay, if you know the derivative, what is the advantage of derivative? For example, if this is a function, this which is a convex function, and this function actually is a convex function, what happens that if you are here, you find out the derivative, it would tell you that this is what the direction. The derivative is actually the angle tan of the tangent of that particular angle. So it actually, if it is positive, if you are here, so it is actually this angle. So it is negative. Here it is negative. Here it is positive. And where is the negative value? So what is this graph? Let me once again tell you that let's assume that here you are finding out some parameter. With this parameter, you plot the value of error. So let's assume that this is what the behavior is, this particular function. So here at this particular value of W, this particular error is minimum. Make sense? Okay. At this particular value of W, this error is actually minimum. But if you are having this W value, this value of the W, then your error is this much, not this much. So you want to, and here if you want to find out that what is the slope, slope would be positive. So if the slope is positive, you come back to, you reduce the value. Slope is positive, you reduce the value. If slope is negative, here the slope would be negative because tan theta is negative. Slope would be here, the slope would be negative. Then you forward into that particular direction. Means negative of your slope you are going to increase. Make sense? So if negative of negative is actually positive, then this if this was your value, you are actually increasing this value. So you are finding out whatever your derivative del E upon del Wi, whatever is there, you go into the negative direction of that, and you modify the weight, whatever earlier weight you had, by this particular value. You add something over there, and you again you need a small parameter that tells you that you don't go too fast. Your movement is actually controlled. So whether this part is making any sense? Okay, whether this part is making any sense? This part is making any sense? Okay. So why we have, you may be asking, sir, why we have, you may ask this question that, sir, why we have created this equation? Why we have used this function? Number one thing, number one question, why we have used this square error function? The answer is because this function is a convex function. Okay. What is the importance of the convex function? Importance of the convex function is this, that it looks like this, and therefore there is a specific point on which the value is going to be minimum. Make sense? How to find out that point? So if let's assume that you are having this value, this is, you want this value, but you are having this value. If you are having this value, then you find out what is the derivative. Derivative is negative. So negative of that derivative, if you find out negative of derivative, if you add into the weight, what would happen? Negative of derivative means you are actually adding positive quantity. So your value would become this. Instead of this, you become this. This part is clear. Can anybody write yes, please? Yeah. Can anybody write yes? Okay. If you are having this weight, if you are having this value, okay, so you see that what is the derivative? Derivative is positive. So you say that minus of derivative, and you add to the your value. So your value would reduce. You are going to come over this place. So this is the importance of negative or derivative. So you are reaching toward the point which is this, that is our point of interest. This is the point. If you want to, if you somehow find out this value, you are done. So this is the point where the minimum value is there. This is the point where minimum value is there. You want to find out what should be the value of W that minimizes this expression. So you got a method. What is that method? The method is this, that you find out the derivative of this particular expression with respect to the W, and then you modify these W's using add this derivative with some step size modifier, and then you add this thing over here, and at the end whatever value you are going to have, you are going to reduce this value. So this time what is going to happen? And if you want to find out the derivative term, as I told you that I have just written that what is, you find out the derivative, and if you want to find out the derivative, I think I will not go into that much calculus, but you by yourself can step that DE for a particular WI, the value comes out to be this. So I'm not going to into much detail on this particular thing, but let's assume that you can find out that what is the derivative of this particular function. Make sense? So again, somebody is asking about the eta. Eta is just for the that step size. That my step size should be small. Okay, finding the point where the slope is nearing zero. Yes, actually, global minima. Yeah, we want to find out that whether we would be reached to that point may not be true, but actually we want to minimize. This gives us a method by which we can reduce this quantity. If this quantity is reduced, that means those parameters are better. So what is the overall effect of this thing is this, that what was happening, that if you plot the value of E, so initially the E would be this, and after that the E is actually going to reduce as you are changing the things. With every iteration, this value is going to reduce. Make sense? So believe on me that everything, this value is going to reduce. We are not talking about the global minima. We are just talking about the minima. Make sense? That you can minimize. Make sense? So, so what I wanted to point out over here, that your error is reducing continuously. So where should you stop? This depends upon you, but how much time has passed, because as you invest more time, your accuracy is going to be better. So you should stop at some particular time. Those methods we would see later. But now we got a very interesting thing, that if you remove the thresholding, once again, I want to repeat, everybody please try to see what I am telling. I am telling this, that if you use error function in this error function, then your error would continuously decrease. Number one. your error would continuously decrease. So the earlier what was problem, where to stop, this was a big problem. Now you know that where to stop, because after some time you stop, you know that this is what the minimum you have. If you don't have the time, uh, you stop at that particular thing and find out that you tell that these are the parameters that I got best. And for example, sometime it may be also happening that earlier it was going very slow, very fast, then the error is reducing very less. Then you see that into the first 10 minutes I got this much improvement, this much improvement. Next 10 minutes I got only this much improvement. For example, this much improvement, this is a very small, so you say that no, I would not continue, I would stop at this particular place. And this method is sometimes called the elbow method, that tells that you see that here the things are very fast, here the things are very slow. So it looks like that there is a point where things become slow, so you may stop at this particular moment. Somehow these kind of methods you can apply, you can find out that like where to stop. So earlier I was not able to understand that where to stop when my data is not linearly separable. So therefore you can apply these methods to the cases where there is not linearly separability is there. If your data is not linearly separable, then you can apply these kind of method and find out the right parameter. Make sense? Earlier thresholded based method was good for the things which are actually which are linearly separable, but this method would work even for the items which are not linearly separable. Yes or no? This method would work for the items which are actually not linearly separable. Yes or no? Yes. So everybody tell me. Everybody, can you type? We got a better method for perceptron weight discovery. Everybody, are you agree? Everybody is agreeing on this. That can be applied to non-linearly separable data. Everybody okay? Yes? Okay, very good. Thank you. Thank you very much. So this is what the algorithm is. I think this is this algorithm is called earlier was a perceptron training rule. Now it is, this name is called the delta rule. This is called the delta rule, and this tells that you initialize again here also you initialize the weight with the random values, and then see that how much we have to change. Initially the weight is 0 for each training example. This time we are not seeing that for misclassified only. For each training example D which are there into your database, you compute what is the output using your module, what is the output, and see that what is the target, and see what is this value, what is the target minus this value. And then for each weight you are actually going to modify this into this way. Make sense? Your weights are going to be modified. So okay, so until your termination condition is not met, what is the termination condition? That sufficient error is reduced. Okay, so this algorithm is better algorithm. It converges toward the minimum error hypothesis where the error is minimized, and therefore you can find out, you can apply this even for the items or data which are actually not linearly separable. Uh, when the data is not linearly separable, you come up with a linear boundary. What does it mean? That the error that is you are going to get would be minimized. For example, if this is the data, let's assume that the red point, this is the point, and green points, for example, are here. Some green point are here also. So some red points are, I say that some red points are here also. So you can come up with various lines. For example, this line would have higher error, but this line would have lesser error. So this algorithm will lead you to find out this line. Make sense? This is a better approach. Now I want to, everybody happy at this particular moment? If you have any question, you may ask. Yeah, any questions? No questions? Okay. Now I want to spoil your understanding. Okay. Okay. By asking this particular thing. What is this? Can anybody write? It's a neural network. Okay. One hidden layer, one output layer, and one input layer. Okay. Can you tell me, please just concentrate on this particular slide. Very interesting slide. So my question is, can anybody answer? How many neurons are there into the hidden layer? Can you tell me? Yes, everybody write two. How many into the output layer? One. How many into the input layer? Two. This is the bias actually, plus one. Okay. So okay. Now come with me. Answer me that what is the output you are going to get over here? What is the output you are going to get? Actually, let me explain something more. That let's assume that this perceptron, these are the weights. W30, W31, W32. For this W10, W11, W12. For here W21, 20, 21, 22. Clear? Okay, these are the weights. And therefore, what is the output here? If these are the things and these are the x is the input, then what is the output? It is x transpose x. As you know that as we have told you that if x is input and w is the weight, output is a w multiplied by x. Transpose is just to say that the right kind of transformation you can do to find out the values. So what is the output here? Here w2, because different weights are there, w2 multiplied by x. What is the output here? Can anybody tell? It is going to be that this thing that initially w30 w30 plus any problem, please let me know. Then you w31 in w1 transpose x. What is here? Then plus w32, this thing multiplied by this value, that is w2 transpose x. This is what the output is. Yeah. Can you write yes? Okay. So this is what the equation is, that you got this output. So can we expand it? Yes, we should expand it. What is the, where should we expand? What is the value of this? What is value of this? You know that using this kind of logic you can find out that it is w10 plus w11 x1 plus w12 x2, and this value is going to be w20 plus w21 x1 plus w22 x2. Make sense? So we put into this particular equation, we put these values over here and here. We do a rearrangement and we find out this particular equation. Here W30, W31, W0, these are the weights, because W's are only weights. So here everything is weight. Here everything is weight, here everything is weight. So inside there everything is weight, then there is Wx1. Then one weight is multiplied by another, then another weight is added, then this is x2. Essentially, we can say that looks like that there is another weight W0 dash, W1 dash, W2 dash, and it is multiplied by with x1 and x2. What do I mean by this? We can think that x1 is there, then W1 dash is multiplied this. Then x2 is there, then W2 dash is multiplied this. Then W0 dash is added. So it looks like that it is this kind of circuit. Make sense? No? Okay. Please note what I wanted to tell. Very important thing I wanted to tell. That if, why it is happening? Because I have removed the threshold. Remove the thresholding. By removing the thresholding, I was very happy that I have devised a strategy that can tell me where to stop, find out the parameter efficiently. But actually, that strategy destroys the neural network, because if you are going to build a neural network, it becomes a single neuron. Everybody, okay? I know. I think I need more correct. Yes, more yes. If you don't understand, please ask. I have devised a threshold. I have devised a strategy by removing the thresholding so that I can find out where to stop. Very good. We are very happy. But that strategy is very good. But when in terms of for a single neuron, but when we see that in terms of the neural network, it's a very bad strategy because it destroyed uh, neural neural network circuit and gives me only single neuron over there. So bad. Make sense? Okay, biggest problem. Okay, so should we use this thresholding? Answer is no, we cannot use the thresholding in this way. So we have to have the thresholding, but thresholding has a problem. So ultimately, a very interesting idea came. Everybody understand this, that we need thresholding. So, but the thresholding was a big problem because it was going to give you only +1 and -1, and these values are very large. Can we apply something else so that instead of 0 and 1, we can find out some gradual values? That may also work for us, because here only the problem was this, that the output that we were getting actually was not gradual. Sometimes it was +1, sometimes it was -1. This was the problem, and that's why we have removed the thresholding. So the next idea that came was very interesting, that it was telling that whenever you are going to get the, please see that W transpose X, you apply a activation on that. You apply a activation on that. Idea is, what is the idea? That you apply a activation on this. And what is the activation? Activation could be different kind of function, where one function could be sigmoid function, and there is a tan H function, and there is soft plus function on the rectify linear unit. These are the function. What do I mean by this? I mean by this that, let me explain, that sigmoid of x is defined in this way. Sigmoid of x is defined is equal to 1 upon 1 plus e to the power minus x. Don't concentrate on this, how come this weird kind of function is taken, but let's assume some function is taken. So if I give you some value x, then you can provide me that what is the value of sigmoid of x. Okay, yes, makes sense. Make sense? If I provide you the value of x, you can provide me what is the value of sigmoid of x. Okay, if I provide you the value of x, you can provide me what is the value of sigmoid of x. Okay, and one thing is very important, that this, if x is continuous, the sigmoid of x is also continuous, and this is what the function is. Okay, for the 0, sigmoid of x is actually 0.5. For minus infinite it is 0, and for plus infinite it is 1. So this sigmoid is going to give you the value into the range of 0 to 1. It is going to give you the value into the 0 or 1, and your value is x is continuous, and the output is also continuous. What is the importance of this continuation, this continuous values? What is the importance of this continuous value? The importance is this, that you can use the same method, because now you have the values that are actually here into this particular formula. In this particular formula, again your target is going to be continuous value. So you can find out these derivatives. If you can find out these derivatives, then you can apply this method, and therefore this method that actually we have devised, that how to find out the right parameter, is again is valid, and that's why it's an interesting idea, that we are going to use this kind of function. Why we are going to use the function? Can anybody answer? So that we can stay on the same line where my error is continuously decreasing. Make sense? So whether the idea is clear, that why we have used activation function, that I get the same value. And what is the but one more advantage, that here in this particular place, there is an activation is also involved. So I cannot directly multiply these weights to these weights, and I cannot find out this nice looking formula over here. Now this formula would have lot of sigmoid and other things, and it becomes so complex that I cannot find out a single thing over there. So applying this kind of activation changes my perceptron to another structure, and that structure is called neuron. So what is the difference between neuron and perceptron? In the neuron, at the output, instead of thresholding, we are going to have these function, either sigmoid, tan s, soft plus, rectify, any other function. This part is clear? Everybody, if you have any question, please ask. So you were clear here that the problem was this. You're clear on this particular slide that the problem was that my complete neural network was actually collapsed to a single perceptron. So I changed this thing by adding a activation over here, by adding a activation function over here. Activation function could be sigmoid, tan s, sort plus, or rectify units. What is the advantage? That now my neural network would not collapse. Okay, number one, neural network would not collapse. Okay, number one. Second, I know better way to stop in non-linearly separable data. Everybody, do you understand this fact only? So many things are there still to be talked about. Where this part is clear? Yes. Yes. Only 4 people are understanding this. Yeah. Maybe more. Yes. Yes. Okay. So we are going to apply a thresholding function, activation function, and these activation functions. When you apply these activation functions, then my perceptron is given a new name that is called the neuron. Make sense? Okay. Now, if everything is clear, then I can go to the next thing. Yeah. Everything happy? Okay. So, any questions? Any questions? No questions? Okay, great. So now I would tell you that why I am using these very weird kind of functions. You may ask, sir, why cannot we use any other functions that are simple? Why you are using these kind of functions which are we are not able to understand? Okay, for the new peoples, when they see that there is a sigmoid of x is equal to 1 upon 1 plus e to the power minus x, they don't understand what is this function. Very difficult to find out. We find out the reason that why this particular function is there. Okay, so does anyone have any idea that why we are using this function? Why we don't use that sigmoid of x is equal to maybe x cube? What's the problem with that? Okay, we can use this x cube, no? What is the problem? That will also be fine. Okay, there also you can find out the similar things. Okay. Yeah. So one reason is this. One reason, the most. Do you want the answer or not? Is it a valid question? Do you think that this is a question? Yes? No? Need answer. Yes. Do you want to answer that why we are using these kind of complex functions? The answer is this. The answer is this, that these functions actually have nice properties. Okay. One nice property is this, that the sigmoid has the minimum value of 0 and maximum value of 1. So whatever coming is going to be into the 0 and 1, and then therefore you can interpret it as a probability. And two classes, you can say that the first class is 0 and another class is 1. You can say like this. Your data, always two class data, you can say that one class is 0. Let's say red is 0 and green is 1. You can tell this thing. And when you say that 0 and 1 into this thing, then whatever value is going to given over here, it could be treated as a probability of the item being 1. Okay, very interesting idea. Earlier you were only seeing that whether this item is red or green. Now there is a probability, and probability is good thing, because for example, if you go to the doctor and he tells you that there is a probability of 49.999% that you have the for example, these days corona is going on. I should not use this word, but somebody, if the doctor tells that is a probability of 0.500001% that you are going to have the corona, so you come and get admitted in this particular hospital. So would you like to go there? What the hell is? Because if you apply a thresholding, just going with the 0.5001 means positive. Makes sense? And you would be very much puzzled with that. If the probability is greater than 0.95, then if somebody start the treatment, then it's fine. But if it is 0.5001, then what does it mean? 0.5001, what does it mean? So if there is a notion of the probability, then it is a better classification. Make sense? Make sense? So Jasila is asking a question. These functions are only for the binary classification. Let me tell you that from the very beginning we are talking about this classification thing, but actually the idea is that there is a line and the line separate two places. That's it. Whenever you are talking about the binary classification or any kind of classification, two class classification problem, you focus on the line. Here also in our complete discussion we are focusing on the line, the equation of the line. If you can find out the equation of the line, we are done. Make sense? So it is not the binary classification problem, as we have seen earlier, that you can combine these things to find out the complex decision boundary also. But the important thing is that this kind of functions, the first thing that using the sigmoid is going to give you is this, that it is going to give you the probability. That is the most important thing. Make sense? Everybody okay? Happy? Yeah. I'm going to give you one more reason. One more reason is this, that if sigmoid is given, of the value is given to you, so most of the time, as I told you, that if you want to modify the weight, it is going to be that you find out that what is the derivative of this particular term, and then you use those derivative to go into a particular direction. So finding out derivative of sigmoid is very easy. It is just sigmoid of x multiplied by 1 minus sigmoid of x. Look, you need not to do any kind of computation. If you know that what is the sigmoid of x, immediately you find out what is the derivative at that particular point. So how to find out this? I think there's teachers who are teaching the mathematics, they would be very happy that they may have told this thing to their student in their class, that because they know this kind of expression. The intermediate teachers actually know these expressions. And one very important thing is this, that finding out the derivative is very easy, because you know that this is the derivative. You need not to find out this derivative. You know that this is the equation. Given this value, immediately you can compute. And what is the advantage? Because to change the weights, you need this derivative. And this is readily available. Very interesting idea. Make sense? Second important thing that we are advantage that we are going to use this sigmoid. The tan h function, the importance of the tan h function is this, that it gives you the output into the range of +1 and -1. So here the range is +1 to -1. So if your classes are such that two classes, one is +1 and other is -1, so instead of sigmoid you go for the tan h. Make sense? Okay. The third thing is soft plus actually is a better function that actually puts into this way, that log of 1 plus e to the power x. So actually, you know that e to the power x, then apply the log, it actually gives you x. Since you are adding 1, then something bad happens to this and some different thing comes over here. So what is the advantage of soft plus is this, that actually it is proportional to the x. So what is the proportional to the x? What happens that this function, if you see that when the value of x is large, then this time it is required to converge. So if your value is this, you see that on the softmax, this is what the derivative is very small. Here the derivative is even larger, therefore you would be learning larger. But when your value are very large, then it is going to learn very slow. Similar thing happens with the tan h. But with the soft plus, if your value is large, then your derivative is large, so quickly you would be moving to the conversion. So this is an advantage of the soft plus. It converges very fast. Then again, there is a problem that because of finding out the derivative, the next best alternative is the rectify linear unit, that is called the ReLU. This is a function like this, that when value is less than 0, it is 0. Otherwise, it is actually x. So if you want to find out the derivative, immediately you know that here the derivative is 1. Even you need not to do any kind of computation. Very fast. So computation is even very fast here. But you cannot use it as a probability. So that's why people, for the probability at the last end, they put something softmax and other things. So you understand that next function, that is rectify linear unit, it has an advantage that its derivative is readily available. It's 1 and it is constant and a big number. So therefore learning rate is also very fast. It converges very fast. Most of the time people use ReLU into your circuits. Make sense? So this is what the story of the neuron. So you understand that in this way you find out the neuron, and then if you find out the neuron and you build multiple layers of the neural networks, then you can find out the parameter. So finding out the right parameter, there is a method called the back propagation is used over there, and back propagation is nothing more than this, that you are trying to see that what should be the right output at the output, and if it is and the difference that is there, that you want to try to propagate using the derivatives. So I'll not go into that much mathematical detail, but this is what the algorithm that people talk about. They want to see that if it is a, because this particular back propagation algorithm is only for the 2-layer perceptron. So if 2 layers are there, one is the output layer and there is a hidden layer, then for the output layers, you try to see that what is the output and what is the target, see the difference, multiply with the output, and there is a delta k and delta h for the hidden units, and then you, in the similar way, you modify these things, and ultimately the things are going to converge and you are going to find out the values. Make sense? We will not go into the mathematical detail of this thing, but this slide is important. Okay, so till now any questions? Till now any questions? Okay, make sense? Clear? No questions? Okay, all right. So till now we have understood that that from perceptron, we have understood that from perceptron we move to neuron, and then we can use multiple neuron to make neural network, and then we can use back propagation to find out the right parameters for the neural network that you have devised. Okay, clear? Okay. Now I want to address another very simplified and important topic, that is that optimization. Actually, what happens now? We have just shown you that error surface is like this. So if you are here, you move into this particular direction so that you reach to this particular place, and corresponding value is going to be, for a particular weight, is going to be the minimum weight that you can answer. But actually what happens is that it is not a single weight, multiple weights are there, and therefore other weights also does have a different kind of effect, and therefore the surface, if you see that, it looks like something like this. This was the paper that came out in 2018, visualizing the loss landscape in the neural networks. A very interesting paper. If you find the time, you can see this. Just Google it, you would be able to find it. So this paper talks about this particular diagram. Actually, this is a very interesting diagram that I wanted to show you. This actually tells you that that actually when, but because I told you now that your parameter could be, you start by random values. So I started by this. So I have this value. So let me show into this particular diagram. So let's assume that you come up through this particular point. Okay, let's assume that you come up to this particular. Okay, let's assume that what color would be nice over here? Let me see that, black. Okay. So let's assume that you start at this particular point. So nearby, because of the derivative, you would reach to this particular point, and then you would reach to this particular point, and then you would be reaching to this particular point. You will stop over here. If you, for example, if you start at this particular point, you would come here, somewhere you find out the minimum value, and all nearby values are actually larger to that. Can you see that? If you start here, you would come down and you find out something that is here, some parameter here that is smaller, and then nearby all the values are larger, so therefore you would not you cannot go forward. Okay, you cannot go forward. Similarly, if you start here, for example, if you start here, you would be stuck somewhere here. So if you start here, you would be stuck somewhere here. If you start here, you would go deep down here. I think you can find out some value over here. If you start here, then you would be going down and you would be finding out this value. Okay, so it is very important to see what is your initialization points. Okay, so this, if you are in, if you initialize into this particular area, you would be reaching to this particular minimum. Make sense? You are reaching to this particular minimum. If you are reaching, starting here, you may be reaching somewhere here. So you may not be able to get the global minimum. Global minimum is not guaranteed. Okay, into the back propagation, global minimum is not guaranteed. You would only expect that a local minimum. Yes, definitely, whatever value you are going to start, you would be seeing some better values, and you can stop at this particular place. This part is clear? This part is clear. Can anybody write yes? Can anybody write yes? Yes. So this is the important thing, that because of the mathematical things involved, what happens that you cannot find out the global absolute global minimum, but you would be able to reach the local minimum. That is guaranteed, that whatever place you are going to start, you would be able to reach a minimum, and that minimum would be somewhere here. But to reach to the global minimum, you somehow have to start over here. So how can you reach over there? So only thing could be that when at the starting point you initialize at this particular moment. So it is suggested that when you are actually going to develop a neural network, you don't execute this neural network immediately. Means only once. You don't execute this neural network parameter discovery only once. You run this multiple time, and sometime you might be getting the better accuracy, sometime you lesser accuracy. That is fine for you. Make sense? So you can report if you want to get the better training, then you can report the absolute minimum one after finding out this. So let's assume that this is what the area is. If you initialize 20 times, so most probably if it is 1 by 20, if this area is 1 by 20 of the total parameter size, then definitely after 20 initialization, it is highly probable that at least you will be getting 1 point over here, and you will be reaching to the absolute minimum. Takeaway from this slide, that last landscape is complex, so finding out the absolute minimum is not that easy. Okay, finding out the absolute minimum is not guaranteed. You would be reaching to the only local minima. Global minima you may not reach. Make sense? Yeah, thank you. So now we want to understand that what is the stopping criteria that few minutes back we have discussed, that since we have developed a method that actually continuously going to reduce the error. So you may be thinking that if you can divide this part into two parts, you can see that initially your error was actually reducing with a very fast speed like this. But after some time you see that my error is not reducing that fast. You can say that this is a point where we can stop. Okay. So ultimately what happens that as I'm telling that you should stop at this particular point, this point you should stop. So ultimately what you expect that on the training your error is actually reducing, but on the testing data your error actually increases. So this is what the another effect that actually happens. So you should it is better to stop at this particular point, and this particular thing that after if you don't stop and you keep decreasing your training error, when you stop at this particular point, then your testing error is actually very high, and this is called the overfitting. So you want to reduce the overfitting. Make sense? Okay. So this line is that continue training until the error on the training examples falls below the some predefined threshold could be a poor strategy. Why poor strategy? Because it is not considering that at what point, because it's not considering the testing thing, and the testing your error may be higher. There is an interesting question that if we reach local minima instead of the global one, then error would be there. Yes, answer is yes. And also let me tell you that even into the global minima doesn't mean that there's zero error. Try to understand this part. Local minima is the absolute minimum that is possible. Okay, that may not be zero. Okay, and also let me tell you that even without this zero absolute this error being zero that we have just defined before few minutes, sum of square error, that is without sum of square errors being zero, you can find out the 100% classification. That is also possible. Make sense? Okay. So now we are going to talk about a training example, an example that is a coding example, and that you would see into the lab sessions. And this you can by yourself can go and search for this particular place, and you just copy this and try to see the code is available at this particular place and run by your side. I would be explaining you that what it means, that here the data is like this, and this data is called the moon data, where one category of the item is actually here, another category of the item is actually here. So they are kind of intermixed. Okay, so point is, can you draw a line? Can you draw a line to divide them? Answer is yes, yes or no. Can you draw a line to divide them? Please tell me. Multiple peoples. Yeah. No, because it looks like that the data is not linearly separable. Okay, it's not linearly separable. If you apply a linear regression kind of thing that you have seen earlier, linear regression that is going to give you a single line, it is going to give you this line that is the best line. And in this line, you can see that these items which are actually going to be misclassified. These items are going to be misclassified. Make sense? So we propose, the paper proposed this particular site proposes that you use this kind of network. Okay, simple network where how many layers are there? Only one hidden layer there, one output layer is there, and one input layer is there. So how many neurons are here? How many neurons into the hidden layer? So with that we are going to vary. Okay, when we use 3 neurons, when you use 3 neurons, this is what the decision boundary that you get. Okay, 3 neurons, you get this decision boundary. So it is a very good thing. With the one neuron, when you have only one neuron, you get this kind of thing that is very similar to the linear regression. But when you use 2 neuron, then you got this kind of decision boundary that is better. With the 3 neuron, as we have seen that we have highlighted here, with the 3 neuron, it gives you nearly correct answer. With the 3 neurons, it gives you nearly correct answer. And if you increase, for example, if you make the 5 neurons, so you get this kind of behavior. If you increase, I think it is 4 neurons, sorry, it is 4 neurons, okay. With the 4 neurons, you get this decision boundary. With the 5 neuron, you see that even here some portion is actually being covered with 5 neuron. And if you use it to, I think, what is this number? 20 neuron. Okay, if you use 20 neurons, so with the 20 neurons, this is what the size is. This is what the decision boundary is. So you can see that this decision boundary is not that good, because it looks like that it has actually learned a lot. Means a lot of overfitting is there. Because if you are very correct onto the data, then onto the testing data, your performance may be bad. With the 5, you can see that this is what the thing that you can see that there is some Iceland also. So this is what the example that I have for you. So it is a code that is there on this website. I would not go into that much detail, but you can see all these codes available, and into the next lab session you can see this. Okay. For that, I tell you that try to find out that how to do on that. This is the code, how to build the model. Different things are there. Okay. How to build a model, then how to define those things into Python. All these things are defined over here. So that's all for my side. Thank you very much for joining. Hope you understood something in this particular